Hey everyone, it's Miss Gubrood. We're back for lesson 1. Whoa, that's hard to see. There we go. Lesson 1-5, scrambled or non-unit rate tables. So we're going to be thinking about rate tables again and rates, but this time they're going to be scrambled, all mixed up, and there may not be unit rates, and we have to figure out how to make them unit rates. Okay, so speaking of we have to kind of pretend sometimes. We call these assumptions. That's a big word, and it means you assume something. Assuming means you say it's true, even though you don't actually have the thing to prove it. You just say, I assume it's going to be true. I think it's going to be true, but I can't really prove it. But because of what I already know, I'm just going to pretend it is true. So in order to practice constant rates, we often have to pretend that some things are true for the situation, even though we know they may not be true in real regular life. So we call those pretended things, we call them assumptions, things we have to assume are true to help the situation make sense. So you might say, okay, how can I figure out what assumptions are being made? Well, you all are awesome at playing the what if game. So play the what if game to the situation and then realize that the answer to the what if game is always, no, doesn't change the situation. Let's look at an example of that. So here's the situation. Chase has basketball practice 3 times per week. Remember, that means he has basketball 3 times each week, 3 times every 1 week. Now, we could make a rate table out of that. We could do 3 times of basketball in 1 week. After 2 weeks, he would have had 6 practices. Oh, am I saying basketball? Baseball. Sorry, I think I'm reading the wrong thing. Baseball. Chase is playing baseball, and he has practice 3 times a week. Now, you might say, okay, but what assumptions do we have to kind of think in our mind about in order to make sure that we can make a rate table out of that's a constant rate? So here we go. Let's play the what if game. So Chase has baseball 3 times per week. Okay, but what if there was coronavirus? What if there was coronavirus? What's the assumption we have to make? The assumption is kind of the opposite of the what if. The assumption is there isn't coronavirus, there isn't COVID, or the team keeps practicing even with coronavirus. So we do a what if, and then the answer is our assumption, and it's the opposite of our what if. So if you're trying to think of assumptions that are being made, play the what if game. What if we did this? Chase has baseball practice 3 times a week. Ooh, my thing is really slow right now. Chase has baseball practice 3 times a week, but what if the coach has to be out of town? You know the answer. The team keeps practicing, or even without the coach, or someone else coaches for the day. So those are the assumptions. When we do a what if, the answer to the what if, that's the opposite of the what if. And that's the assumption that's being made. We say, okay, but it's baseball, so what if it's raining? Or what if it already rained a lot and the field is really muddy? We say he has practiced 3 times every week, but what if it's raining? Or what if the field is muddy? The assumption is the opposite of the what if. They hold practice anyway. They have practice in bad weather. They have practice on the wet, muddy field. They move to a drier location. All of those things could be our assumptions. That's what we mean when we say we're making assumptions that really are more things that we know actually might cause Chase to not have practice 3 times a week. He might not have practice if there was coronavirus. He might not have practice if the coach was out of town. He might not have practice if it was raining, but we're assuming that all those things aren't true, and he's having practice every time 3 times a week. Okay, so let's go into the book Remember, when we're doing our math, you should always have your book with you while you're watching the video, because we will do problems right out of your book. Remember, you can always stop and go back and rewatch the video. That's fine too. We're on page 15 in your student activity book. I'm looking at number 1. Number 1 says, every day of this week, Summer, I changed the name. So shout out to Summer. Every day this week, Summer made 3 of her free throws. We see the chart. This came right out of your book. Every day, every one day. Remember, there's that invisible number 1 in there. When we hear each, every, and per, after each, every, and per, 1, the number 1 comes. Okay, my computer was a little messed up for a second there. But, okay, every day, Summer makes 3 of her free throws. So we can see on the first day, what number are we going to put in here? On day 1, this is every one day, she makes 3 of her free throws. So here's our 1. That's the unit. We're going to put in a 3. Every one day, she makes 3 free throws. Now notice that the labels are missing. When you're doing this, you want to put the labels in right away to keep yourself organized. So we know that every one day, the unit is day. Every one day, she makes 3 of her free throws. Boy, is that a tongue twister. 3 free throws. 3 free throws. That's a tongue twister. Now, we also see that it gave us day 5, how many free throws she had made by the end of that time. So, there's day 1, she makes 3. After day 2, how many free throws had she made? Well, remember, we're going to add the same number. It's a constant rate over and over. So each day it's 3. So we're going to add plus 3 each time, plus 3, plus 3, plus 3. So she makes 3 more free throws. After her second day, she has 6. What about her third day? After her third day, she has 9. She makes 3 more each day. Oh, my light's turned off again. There we go. Now, we could keep filling that out, but I'm going to let you continue to fill that part out, and we're going to talk about the blank, blank, per, blank. Remember the per, the number 1 comes after per. You won't see it. It's invisible, but it's per 1 something. So something, something, per 1 something. What did it tell us there was a 1 there? 1 day, per 1 day. So we're going to write in the per, we're going to write day. I'm going to choose a different color so it's easier to see. So per, and I'm going to write in the number 1, day, to remind us. Per 1 day. There's always an invisible 1 after the word per. Now, blank, blank, per 1 day. What is the blank, blank? 3 free throws. And you could say, well, free throws is 2 words, so that's tricky. It is, but I think they're talking about it's just one thing. So even if it's 2 words, it's still one thing. So she makes 3 and then free throws. And I had to kind of scrunch it in there, and it's okay if you kind of scrunch it in there too. 3 free throws. So that's what it wants us to do. Now we also need to think about the assumptions. Just like when Chase was having baseball and all our what ifs, the answer was no, still going on. What are some what ifs we could think about Summer? Well, what if she went on vacation? The answer is no, she didn't go on vacation. Or maybe she practiced basketball even while she was on vacation. So the answer is she does it every day. She doesn't miss any days because of vacation or being sick or whatever. What else? She doesn't have like a really like totally on day, right? What if sometimes we know when we're playing a sport, sometimes it's just like, you're like, wow, if I could play like this every single day, I would be amazing. Sorry, Summer, you don't have any of those days. Making 3 of your free throws is awesome, but you don't have a day where you make 4 or 5 or whatever. So you can say, what if she had just like an on day? And the answer is, nope, she didn't. She had a regular day every single day. So when you're making assumptions, you do some fun what ifs, and then your answer is, no, that didn't happen. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about today is what if it's a non-unit rate that you're given? What if they don't tell you something per one something? You have to figure that out. But you might already be able to know how to do that. So let's take a look at number 10. I'm on page 16 in our book. Number 10 says the store sold 5 sacks of oranges for $30. Well, first of all, you might be saying, wait, why would a person want to buy 5 sacks of oranges for $30? Well, I guess if you were the school cook, you might want to do that. Probably in your family, unless you're having a really big family event, maybe not so much, but that's okay. We can still use this as a way to solve and figure out unit rates, even when we're given something that's not a unit rate. So we've got 5 sacks of oranges for $30, blank, blank per blank. Well, we might think, oh, well, I can just put the numbers in, but you can't because it's per one. Remember, there's per one something there. We don't have a 1 in the problem anywhere. So let's put it into our table. Remember, it could be scrambled up. Could be in the wrong order, could be missing things. That's okay. So I'm going to put a 5 here. And so there's 5 of something for 30 of something. So I know I have to put those across from each other in the same row, 5 and 30, because those two numbers go together. Now, in order to keep myself organized, I want to label those correctly. What am I going to label those? Well, the 5 is, hopefully you said, the sacks of oranges. Now, remember, you can always pause the video so that I don't tell you the answer right away. And what does the 30 mean? Dollars. It's $30. All right. So if 5 sacks of oranges cost $30, how can I figure out how much 1 cost? There are a lot of ways, but you might be thinking, what if I just divided that by 5? What if I divided each side by 5? What if, instead of multiplying over on the side up here, what if I divided by 5? I don't want 5 sacks, I only want 1. If I divide the number of sacks of oranges that I'm buying by 5, I'm going to divide the price by 5. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to divide both by 5. What's 30 divided by 5? You might know that a math fact is 6. Now, this, you have 2 more spaces. You could tell us what 2 sacks of oranges cost, what 10 sacks of oranges cost. You could choose a really tricky number like 6 sacks of oranges. That might be tricky. So you fill out the rest of this table. We also have to fill up it here, though, blank, blank per 1. So we had to find the unit rate, and we found the unit rate. So we're going to use that information that we found to fill in the unit rate up here. Blank, blank per 1, like, so this is per 1 sack of oranges. And how much was it? What are we going to put in those other things? $6. Remember, you can email me or chat me questions. See you next time.